God, why does it take 6 weeks to get registered at our GP practice that we're working at, but 15 minutes to get this service? Like, healthcare should really be like this. There's such a gap. So what used to take 6 weeks is now hours. It's now in 24% of the country, just saving a bunch of time. And I guess if you get registered nowadays, it may be us that made it quick and easy.
That's Peter, co-founder of Health Tech One. They automate admin tasks in the NHS, so staff can focus on what really matters.
We bootstrapped for a very long time, so maybe 2 years, if not longer, and we're on pretty much a super low income. I think like £9,000 for the first year. We also won a Innovate UK grant. So YC uniquely is not just the funding. Obviously, they'll put you in front of some of the best investors in the world during YC at the end of the demo day, but very much like a personal development journey. The very inside view would be scaling yourself. So, as co-founders, you are the one that carries all of the thread. You make lots of major decisions. Your team will grow, problems will grow. So you don't want to be the blocker in the company.
Peter shares deep personal insights into his motivation and when he was too hard on himself because he thought he owed it to his family.
One really important moment for me is I was still living at home at the time, working a job, starting a company, doing a degree, overworked and burning out. And I remember getting into an argument with mum at home. That was my why at the time. She was like, look, you can't pay this back. The love from a parent to a child is unilateral. And that was really a huge moment for me where my why changed. I know how to make them happy through other ways. I now have the choice to truly pick what I want to do. We do really fix the NHS, or a big part of it. We need to share that with the world.
Great to have you here today, Peter.
Thank you.
For people who don't know, what does Health Tech One do?
So we work in this healthcare setting, the NHS, and we automate admin for GP practices. I guess you often interact with the GP practice at the front desk. It's a lady or a person, you're getting an appointment. But behind the scenes, there's loads of back office admin. I imagine in a dark room, paperwork, old systems, two-finger typing, and actually loads of work. So yeah, we started in a GP practice, did a lot of the work. We as me and my co-founder, by the way, Raj. And I just want to reveal this to the world. What props up our NHS is not just doctors, nurses who you interact with, but the admin staff. There's so many, and we want to help them. So we built software to help them.
What made you come up with it? How did you decide on those people you wanted to help?
Just an interesting kind of co-founder journey, I guess. So Raj and I went to secondary school together, Dartford Grammar School. We describe our relationship like a helix. So at school, we kind of distant, but played online games. So we met online. Sounds like a dating thing. But we played Halo 3 online, and then we'll go back to school and we're in different friendship groups. So you can imagine the helix is kind of wide. And then we go to uni and then we hang out more. So the helix comes together. There was this one moment where just serendipity, our friends are meant to go on a big cycling trip and they all drop out. They all flake. And me and him, we weren't very good friends at the time, go, yeah, why don't we do it? Screw it, let's go together. And our helix really bounds together at that point. 10 days trying to cycle to Amsterdam, ups and downs, problems, lots of fun. I can go into that another day, but essentially a real bonding experience. I think traveling is a lot like that. And then we lived together, we built a consultancy together. And then during that consultancy, this is 2020, our first company together, and Helix is so bound, we have an opportunity to work with his mum and dad. You can imagine COVID, mum and dad, they run a GP practice. They come to us and they're like, oh my goodness, we can't cope. Things are shut. We have to go digital. We have no idea how to go digital. Help us out. And actually Raj at that point says, no, I'm an entrepreneur. I don't need to work with mum and dad. That's not cool, is it? And I've always worked with mum and dad. So I grew up in takeaway and saw so much difficulty and a lot of identity and trauma and learning and wisdom comes from that experience. But it changes from embarrassment to pride. And here's the moment I thought, I've seen this journey before. Please don't look at mum and dad as a source of embarrassment or something that you shouldn't do, or nepotism. This is an incredibly honorable moment. And it's also for the NHS. And it's COVID. Let's give it a shot. Let's give it a try. And yeah, we do. So we get given these VIP passes to step into the GP practice, go into any room, speak to any person, solve any problem, and just have free form exposure. And we pitch 10 projects. We see your problems in the practice. There are 10 things we think we want to do. Give us a few months to complete them, and we complete 6. This is from like taking the 15-year-old front page website built on Google Sites and updating it. This is creating a knowledge base because they're nothing to keep knowledge, improving the appraisal system for annual, HR reviews. And one thing was registrations. So I think, we were living and working at the same time, in a flat in Dalston, and we ordered a food one night, like a curry. It came in 15 minutes. And we thought, oh my God, why does it take 6 weeks to get registered at our GP practice that we're working at, but 15 minutes to get this service? Like, healthcare should really be like this. There's such a gap. And that's when we thought, registrations, let's focus on this. So what we do is we actually do the registrations. I remember doing thousands manually, getting really good at it, but recognizing that, we could totally redo this. So paper form, digitized it. Paper process that you're typing and looking at paper, automated it. So what used to take 6 weeks is now hours. And we basically took that product and honed it and honed it and honed it. It's now in 24% of the country, just saving a bunch of time. And I guess if you get registered nowadays, it may be us that made it quick and easy. Anyway, it's a brilliant space. I don't think people know about the NHS and what happens in a GP practice enough. Brilliant people.
So I'm going to get back onto that journey in a second,
Yeah.
but you mentioned about your parents there, right?
Yeah.
And like having a Chinese takeaway as growing up, right? Can you tell us about what you learned from that experience, right? Because like you said, I think, and I was listening to the book the other day, The Unreasonable Hospitality, right? Where how through hospitality, because it's such an intense environment, you can learn so much very quickly, and those skills are really transferable, right? So what do you think you learned from that experience when you were growing up?
Yeah, you can take the academic, it was a business. So I did the academic business bit. So literally the moment I could speak and write, it's such a typical Chinese immigrant story. I was on the phone, I was doing a council tax, bills. I was doing the tax records, loads of business paperwork. So academically, I was just learning the skills. But when you look at, I say, character and learnings, it's really, I think, a story of resilience and seeing mum and dad work so damn hard and sacrifice so much and overcome so much struggle. You can't help but, I guess, inherit that and do it, maybe for good or for bad, you never know, maybe in a traumatic way. But I just built resilience, and what seems to be difficult in that setting is not difficult for them. So I learned that. So incredibly resilient. And it's difficult, to be really honest. Don't we all just want to grow up and play football, play games, have my weekends free, be able to do the things that other people do to fit in? I want to have crisps in my lunchbox, not Chinese stuff, or I want to be able to bring this to the Christmas party, not Chinese stuff. So there's definitely a child identity piece in there where you're trying to match your home culture with the external. But now, when I'd say embarrassment turns to pride, that resilience and difficulty becomes strength, and character. All those sorts of cultural identity pieces like food also become proud moments as well. And this idea of honor, you talked about honor a lot to your family too. It's just honoring what they've done, and often it's their principle, their essence, how to be a good person, how to present your world, how to help others. And what other thing than to be a good person and to abide by those principles? It just so happens that entrepreneurship is my brush, and that's what I use to honor those principles. But yeah, we all have styles, and you have your different style too. But I love the takeaway story now. I totally want to write, get people interviewed and share that story, and help people see that story, because it's not just food and a family serving the community. It's a story of resilience, of difficulty, of learning, of unity. I can go on for ages, but I love the takeaway story, basically.
So I mentioned to you before as well how my dad encouraged me to quit my job, right? And they said there's so much generational trauma and things going on there. Because your parents worked so hard and built a business from that scratch level, what do they want for you? They're trying to encourage you to go down that safer path. Or when you decided to go into entrepreneurship yourself too, how's that relationship?
Big one. Oh my God. Yeah, let me give it all. So my parents never gave me direct direction to achieve. I think I intuitively saw mum and dad sacrifice a lot and do a lot, and that made me want to, I guess, repay a debt. And approval as a child is kind of seeing what your parents reward and get happy with. And obviously back then it's academic grades, it's A stars and stuff. So did a lot of that stuff But they never told me directly. Upon reflection, they never said, you need to get this result. I just took it on myself. So I think entrepreneurship was an example of that, where I thought, oh, you've done this thing, let me imitate it. And that is a source of pride. And that's a reason why I should do it. Without communicating to my family, I never told them that this is what it is. And that was a really difficult burden, actually. So in the first year or two of entrepreneurship, coming out of university, I just hustled hard, became a real tech bro, sacrificed personal life, romantic life, health and stuff, and worked incredibly hard. One really important moment for me is I was still living at home at a time, working a job, starting a company, doing a degree, overworked and burning out. And I remember getting into an argument with mum at home where she was just nagging, and as mums do, hey, you're eating so little and you're working so hard and you're still going to the gym and you should sleep more and all these things. And deep inside, what I hadn't communicated is I'm working so hard for you. That was my why at the time. It's for you. I want to repay all of this. And anyway, I worked really hard, come back that night, we get into a tiff and we argue. It's really intense. I don't typically argue with mum, and silence kind of dovetails. And I remember taking my glasses off and saying, Mum, you just don't understand why I'm doing this. And I actually break into tears and my arms go numb and my legs go numb. And what I had bottled is some sort of expectation, a projection that I had indirectly inherited from them. And then, I let it all out. I cry, I hug my mum. She's like, what's this about? Let's talk about this. And I say, Mum, Dad, first of all, you're a bit older. So my parents are maybe 10, 15 years older than my peers. So growing up, I'm like, oh, this is a bit weird. I don't do sports with my family. But yeah, I said, I'm worried about your death, really, honestly. So I'm running out of time. So there's urgency here. And that was probably one of my childhood fears. And you've sacrificed so much. I want to pay you back. There's so much I want to give back to you. And mum says, okay, let's do the math. And starts pretending to get a piece of paper out. Rent, okay, how many years rent, times that up, and bills and gas and food, and how about all the other things? She was like, look, you can't pay this back. The love from a parent to a child is unilateral, it's special, and you should never believe you can pay that off. So there is no debt between us. Please do not take that burden. What you should do is just give us a call, honor us, look after us, and give us a phone call here and there. And that was really a huge moment for me, where my why changed, where at first my why was, I must do things for my parents without communicating that to them, to I know how to make them happy through other ways. I now have the choice to truly pick what I want to do. Turns out that it's entrepreneurship still, but very different tastes and flavors. When you do entrepreneurship with dark energies, chip on your shoulder, not true introspection on your why, that's very different to you've done the processing and the introspection and you're ready to take it on differently. So yeah, I think that kind of, explains the relationship between me, my family, and entrepreneurship.
I think that's lovely. I hope as well that your parents listen to this and hear that too themselves. And I think one of my favorite things about the podcast is where people say oh, my mum listened to the episode and then she was crying and she was so happy about it. So it's always, because sometimes you said, things are left unsaid, but when you start to think about it and reflect, oh wow, yeah, that's a really big part of this. And you mentioned as well about the dark energy and light energy, and when you're going to doing things. And it is true, a lot of people start off for the wrong reasons in some ways, right? It can be quite toxic. And the challenge is you can get quite successful by doing that, right? On paper, you'd be okay, I've raised this money, I've got this revenue, but you wouldn't really be happy inside when you're doing it that way, right? And obviously you started this off originally to help out your co-founder's parents. But today, what keeps you going? What's the motivation that as you've been growing for 4 years and continue going on, what today is that why? Has it changed over time?
Yeah, I think startups uniquely attract people that are smart, ambitious, hardworking, and good. So when you have a big mission full of purpose and you bring together great people, there's no better, and they click and they resonate and they just work together like a slick team. There's no better experience in my eyes. There's an electric energy where you have camaraderie, planning, preciseness, and achievement. And running through that cycles, you create incredible memories. So that kind of cycle has happened again and again as our challenges have gotten bigger and bigger. And yeah, it's just really nice. You think, let's start here, and then it gets then it doubles. I remember when we had 10 practices and we'd celebrate, and then we hit 100. We're like, whoa, so 50,000 registrations. Like, whoa, we've crossed like 2 million now, and we have 24% of the country. I'm like, whoa, what's the next thing? So that's where resilience and continuing matters, because you just say, let's keep going. There's a big vision, keep on moving forward. But your projects will always be some sort of, if you're progressing anyway, some size, some Goldilocks size where it's just big enough. It's a bit out of your stretch. And if you're a person that loves developing and working with others to overcome a challenge, that's just so addictive. You just keep on going and going and going. But yeah, I think, getting a bit more successful over time keeps you going. Finding great people along the way keeps you going. We've got a cheat code, which is healthcare. Like, there's no other space. I've worked in like fintech before I was at Monzo. I've worked in food tech and lots of different tech startups, basically. But health is different. You're actually just helping people become healthier, or healthcare workers improve their lives so they can help their families more. And there's nothing like it. So I think there's a saying like, once you're in health tech, you're not leaving. And I've never woken up with a single question in my mind as to whether this is the right purpose or not. Everyone come to healthcare, basically.
Yeah. What the trend we see, right, is that a lot of people start one company and then the second or third company will be in health tech, because ultimately what happens is you start a company, you get burnt out, you've got too much going on, your health becomes really important to you. And we see that over and over again. I've seen so many people in the building health tech. Sometimes it's not their first company, but it is their third company, their fourth company, because they realize how key health is to everything else. And as you said, like, your challenge is getting bigger over the years, right? So you started with one practice and you grew out to different ones. When did you start growing out the team? Because we were talking about that too, about how to manage that team and get the right people on board and the right structure of that team too.
Yeah, I don't think we're world class at hiring just yet, because to do that is such a concerted effort. Needs to be designed so damn nicely, and you need to be true to your principles. That's where I want to get to, basically. This is what I've been thinking about recently. So just to share that. But in the early days, it was very much just organic. Network, friends. I'd spent maybe the past 5 to 10 years just speaking to people, seeing the community, like your spaces, for example. And you just keep in touch with people. And when the time comes, you're like, hey, come, do you want to work on this? So that's one piece. A lot of serendipity. Friends know friends. And it's pretty difficult, actually. Like, finding the first 10 or 20 people, I think, is one of the most important things for any company. They'll be the future leaders. They will set the foundations. They'll know the stories, inherit the culture, pass the culture on, and hire the next like concentric circle of people. So yeah, getting that right has been a slow process for us, for sure. Like, for example, we don't just interview, remotely and ask them questions. We want to work with people. So it's a two-way relationship. All the things I say when I'm in the hiring process, like, this is how we are, this is what the culture's like, this is how things will work, and this is your day-to-day. They're all words, that's talking the talk, but they spend 2 days with us working, and we'll pay people for a test project, and they can really verify that and see whether it's true, whether the culture is what it is, or how we've described it. So doing it slowly is really important. I think there's a point where, yeah, you don't want to grow too quickly, because I think you lose your culture a bit, which is really important. I think that's the most powerful long-term thing to have. We call it principles in our company, kind of inherited from my family, because I was brought up on principles, Asian principles.
Hello. I hope you're enjoying the show so far. I'm Amardeep Parmar, co-founder of BayHQ and the host of this show. For those of you who don't know, BayHQ is the community for high growth Asian heritage founders and investors in the UK. Over 7,500 people have attended our events. 200 people have been through our impact programs, and obviously there's been over 250 episodes of this podcast. If you want to join us and take part in the programs and come to the events, go to bayhq.com/join. We also just released our first ever book called Startups for Outsiders, which you can get on Amazon now, and the link is in the bio. Hope to see you soon at our event. Hope you enjoy the rest of the episode. I love the idea of the test project that's paid, because right now there's a lot of people I know who are out of work, whether it's redundancies, whether it's they quit their job thinking they'll be able to get another job easily, or whatever it is. And the competition out there is insane. And it means that it's an employer's market, right? So I'm seeing so many people who are spending like so much time doing projects for people but unpaid. So it's like they're just doing the work for them for free. And some of which sits funny with me as like, I don't know, obviously people on our network who do that too. But it's like if you're trying to hire somebody, if you're making them do like work for free, and if you're actually going to use that work in particular, it's like when does that become acceptable and when it's unacceptable? So I really love that you actually pay people for that proper project because it's showing trust, right? And it's not using the people. It's like, okay, you've got valuable skills, let's see if it works, as opposed to you've got valuable skills, we know you're desperate for a job, here, go and do this work for free for us, right?
Yeah.
And how did that come up? How did you introduce that into your system?
I think me and my co-founder did a test project. So before we started our first consultancy, I think there was a weekend before I went to San Francisco to do a bit of a trip. We're like, why don't we just test the working relationship? So we spend like a weekend or 3 days sitting in the GP practice trying to solve the HR appraisal system. So it's a funny process. It's like 100 people have to fill out a 50 to 100 question form, which then spits out to a unique spreadsheet, and HR teams in the GP practice would copy and paste and make graphs manually. So for 100 people, it took 2 hours each to build a graph and a report of your year's performance. We just automated that and saved hundreds of hours by making one form, one spreadsheet, and something that printed a doc out together. And it was this process of like finding the problem, speaking to people, building something together, and feeling the vibe, to be really honest. Like, do you work well together? Obviously, very successful. That's why we've got a company together. But kind of spawned from there, I think, and realizing that the fidelity is incredibly high. We're also lucky because as a small startup, I think you can say we want to be picky. Like I just said, the first 20 people are vital. So, we're honest about that. Hey, first 20 people, so damn important. We want to make sure this is like near perfect. Let's spend more time doing this. It's almost like relationships, right? You want to make sure you ask difficult questions, see the edges, and actually maybe have some like intellectual clashes or working like moments. And everyone that joins, we do a test project together. And it's very much a two-way street. Like, take the candidate experience. Like, you interview a few times, you ask questions about the culture, they tell you some blanket answers or maybe non-truthful answers, and you join a job and you work there for maybe 3 months, but you already know like a month in, this isn't the place. So here it's like an invite, have lunch with us, meet the team, literally feel the management relationship with me and how we all work together. And then, does that work? Let's go if it does. So it just saves that really difficult conversation down the line where you're like, we didn't have the right fit. I wish we asked the questions earlier. Definitely recommend it.
Because you and your co-founder were good friends beforehand, was there any worry before you built your first company, right, that would ruin the relationship? Because I know sometimes people worry about that. Right? Okay, I really get along with this person, but doing it in a work sense is very different. And obviously you did the test project, but was there anything else where, if somebody listening is considering starting a company with their friend, that they should think about or they should be aware of?
Yeah, I think a lot of the advice is a domain expert co-founder plus a technical co-founder. So you're taking a skills or competency approach to that. Important, like you definitely have to cover different bases, but what's much more important is long-term trust and shared vision, because always compared to other relationships, right, whether it be a family or partner, what keeps you going is you have a shared future you both believe in, the desire to engage and get through all the good times, easy, or the bad times, and work on it. Like, relationships are not just honeymoon phases, they're real pieces of work. So here, like, honestly, like, we argue about things, we intellectually debate, we spend so much time on the company, like on weekends as well. And we just are super committed to each other. It's all right if we fight or we argue. It would be lying if there's no fights. A couple that say they never fight, that's a bit weird, or they haven't gotten into the really meaty, difficult problems. So the honest truth is like, hey, here's a problem. Should we work on it? Let's do it. Let's get stronger after. Raj's dad talks about it as like, we have drilled such deep holes. We've just kept on deepening and deepening and deepening the relationship. And just like the helix, like, you want to keep on winding your ropes together and investing in that. If someone doesn't and decides to flay off, then that's the problem. But we have a shared vision of the future and we're committed to that path. So like, to wrap that, it's not just competency. It's like long-term trust, belief in the future, and willingness to invest. So important. So pick slowly, I'd say, and test the relationship. More than 2 days, like, do multiple projects and things, I'd say.
Yeah. And then obviously you mentioned Raj's dad there, right? That's where this all started off from, is with his parents. But when did you decide, okay, maybe this is something which you can expand to other GPs too? And because you had your other business before and you did other things, was it like, okay, we're going to work here and we're going to then expand it straight away? Or was there some discussion around, is this the thing that we want to then grow and make our lives work?
Yeah, so one bold thing that we were willing to do is understand that our first product would be a wedge. It'll be a landing zone. It'll be the first. And there'll be many more things that will come of that. One small opportunity opens many more, but you can see that's a leap of faith. It's a generally good leap of faith. Like if you can pick one small thing and do it incredibly well, there will be other opportunities you can open into. So we saw one wedge. I think the academics of it are quite simple. Like GP practices are businesses. There is a profit share at the end of the day. They operate as businesses and make decisions that way. Okay, there's a market. The problem is very standardized. Like every patient registers in the same way. Okay, cool, that's useful. Some scalability there. The systems they use, like maybe you compare it to Windows or Mac. So their clinical system, there's only two. EMIS is system one, and they own 90% plus of the market. So like, okay, cool. So there's one stable system. They're businesses, they have problems, they're willing to pay. And we see a patient flow that is hugely underserved. And I think, you look at those Lego bricks and academically, there's a business that can scale there. And then, we look at other tasks to work on because there's just way too much to be done. So yeah, I think it's just naturally starting bit by bit. But yeah, we're relatively lucky. Maybe, there's some good thought behind it too. But we found that perfect wedge to start with. And registrations is like, I think we're the best product in the market for that. And practices love us. So yeah, quite lucky that we found that too.
What's been the hardest bit about scaling to getting to 24% of the UK?
You mean like in the team or the product or anything?
So I guess, was it the team the hardest thing? Was the product the hardest thing? Or what was the hardest thing about that growth journey so far?
The very inside view would be scaling yourself. So, as co-founders, you are the one that carries all of the thread. You make lots of major decisions. Your team will grow, problems will grow. So you don't want to be the blocker in the company. And often you can be. So how do you scale yourself? And, that's like, you have to shift your competencies and learn new things. You need to change your mindset from maybe a scarcity mindset to an abundant mindset. You need to keep on pushing your limits. And that's an awesome journey. Like if you can stay the course, you see things you've never seen yourself and you kind of regenerate every single time you go. So I think scaling yourself. Then there's very okay scaling problems that are solved. Like how do you scale a tech product? How do you scale a sales motion? How do you scale team management? How do you scale other things? Like these are the execution bits that you can learn from other people. I think leaders or co-founders need to scale themselves, which is always a changing. The scale of the business is growing all the time. So you always have to scale yourself relative to that shape. So you always have to keep on going. And
also the industry you're targeting, right? It's not like you go and do SEO. Like how exactly would you get a new GP practice? Is it each time with a new fresh relationship, a new cold outreach? Or how are you able to actually scale and get new clients?
Yeah, just typically like any other market. So you have your early adopters that give you a chance. They'll find you at events where you're pitching a new idea. So loads of that. And obviously make them incredibly happy and they refer their innovative friends. So early part of the journey was that. Then this is you can imagine the GP practice, right? The person that manages the practice is busy and they're very, they're physically in a location. So how do you access that? Emails don't work. Phone calls are hard. So often it's going to them or finding them at events. So that's one way. It's very old school stuff, actually. Cold calling sucks or cold, arriving sucks, but it also works. So being willing to put graft in is always important. But yeah, it's very much like a unique customer profile. One is they're super busy and they can see the sleazy salespeople a mile off. So luckily we don't need to pretend. We are just transparent, friendly and good at what we do. So we just have to present ourselves and go, hey, look, we're Health Tech One. We're here for you. We're in a GP practice. We get it. We work with the national NHS England team. Can we work together? So we're very friendly in our approach and very transparent, which is quite a refreshing kind of, angle across what typically, B2B SaaS companies could be.
And then how did you think about the funding journey, right? Because you could obviously go like one by one and like take your time and try and get profitable and then scale that way. But you went through Y Combinator and you've raised other capital too. What was the decision behind that being the best path for you?
Yeah, so we actually went pretty ramen, not profitable, but like, yeah, we bootstrapped for a very long time. So maybe 2 years, if not longer. And Raj and I lived in the flat and worked in the flat and were on like pretty much like super low income. I think like £9,000 for the first like year and 15,000 second year. And you know, that's one place of privilege, right, as well. Like we could eat into our savings, long story short. That's one bit. Another bit is our previous agency that then turned into Health Tech One. There was revenue from that. And actually our product was revenue generating from the beginning. So it let us have bootstrap runway. We also won a Innovate UK grant. So that gave us a good amount of money. So we actually, I think, skipped our pre-seed and one big funding round, which is great because we can offer more, you know, equity and options to our team members too. Tough times in the early days to skip a funding round, but revenue was really important to us. We didn't want to be a, you know, revenue-less company at all. And then Y Combinator probably happens in like year 2 or 3. And yeah, quite serendipitous. Like I used to work at Monzo. I reached out to Tom when he was in London and then spoke to him about, he's very passionate about the NHS, spoke to him about our sort of a journey. He was like, you should apply for Y Combinator. I think that was our 3rd time. So like, yeah, we'll do it again. And then got an interview and got an offer. At that time, we had loads more revenue. The first 2 times we had like small revenue, which begs the question, do people want it? But by this point, we had loads of revenue relative to a YC company. And then that was less about a funding journey. So YC uniquely is not just the funding. Obviously, they'll put you in front of some of the best investors in the world during YC at the end of the demo day, but very much like a personal development journey plus a community, like joining a community. And my God, the YC community are next level in so many ways, like friendliness, support, directness, quality, and inspiration. Like these people are so good and not competitive. You'd think the best accelerator in the world would be super American competitiveness. No, they're just so open, so great. So yeah, huge journey for us personally speaking, and builds our network, and the mentorship is incredible. We have access to the partners, we meet the legends like Instagram co-founder and Sam Altman and, you know, Brian Johnson and founders of like big companies like Google Photos. You're like, whoa, here this person is, and they've built these companies and they're so down to earth. Very inspirational in that regard. But funding overall for us is, yeah, we'll do it if it's strategically good. We don't want to live on VC funding at all overall, because why not just build an incredible business standalone? That's definitely the first sort of core objective. So yeah, strategic utility really.
And obviously there's quite a few UK-based companies that went to do YC, right? And have you found by going to San Fran and working out there, that mentality you learn out there has given you an advantage here? And the network in the UK has been really supportive.
Yeah, I think what Raj and I like to do is go back every now and again. And there's one element of immersion. So the stark contrast is friendliness, big picture thinkers, and playing with ideas. So I don't know, imagine like an idea is a ball of energy. You can easily toss it with other friends or founders and they'll increase it, they'll amplify it. And by the end of it, it's a huge idea. You're like, yes, I'm buzzed, I want to do this. Over here, it's like you chuck a ball to someone, ball of energy, it fizzles out. And they're like, oh, I don't know about this. Throw it away. So, you know, we like to get out there to like expand our thinking continually. And I don't think that's going to change. They just think on a different level. Now, it's not, we want to imitate that always, but just get a taste of it and appropriately match it to our industry. We don't want to copy and paste fully, but just get a sense here and there, a controlled sense. I think generally the mentorship, the community in SF is very mature, the ecosystem, like PayPal Mafia or so many exits, and the network is incredible. And you're probably 1 or 2 connections away from a founder that's done something, you know, a household name. I remember like when the Instagram founder spoke to us, he talked about, I think like the social media quarter, and essentially within a mile or 2, there were the 4 big social media companies that had spawned and built their offices. Things like Foursquare, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Like think of that density compared to here, where London's great because it's got so many industries like law, music, finance, fashion, tech, whatever, food. But over there, it's just pure tech and the density is incredible. I think here you have lots of commercial like viability because there's so many industries. So yeah, balance of both, I'd say.
With your practice as well, is it very much NHS focused or could it expand internationally someday? Or what's your thoughts there?
NHS focused for now. Yeah, I think there are enough problems. NHS is one of the largest employers in the world. They drive the principle of universal healthcare, like free healthcare at the point of access. Like take that as a sovereign or a sort of an ideology. Like, shouldn't healthcare be at the moment you need it, not a question of money, but a question of quality and speed? And yes, that's what we live by in the NHS, which is incredible. So given that we want to fix this system, improve it, bring the best talent onto this purpose too, I partially have like, I've always got like a wilder, bigger idea. And Raj often laughs at me for this, but I'll be like, let's go global. Like we have to go international. And the essence of that is less we need to expand and build a business there, but a kind of honor and duty. Like say we do really fix the NHS or a big part of it, we need to share that with the world. Like how could you sit and retire and not help all the other countries? We're one human race at the end of the day, right? So we should go global eventually, but that's only because we get to fix the problems here. And it's close to our hearts, right? Close to our hearts because, yeah, mum and dad, like Roger's mum and dad work in that practice. We know the staff so damn well. Our office now is connected to the GP practice, and in the other rooms, Raj used to run around as a kid in there. So there is a family connection too, and a lot of pride and reward.
On that point as well, so I know that you have set up an organisation to help with British Chinese entrepreneurs, right? And does that come from that heritage and that importance of that culture for you?
Yeah, I'll throw identity in there too. I mean, growing up as any young person, you look towards a model of some sort, right? And is it from media? Is it from family? Is it from somewhere? And when I look out and beyond, and obviously mum and dad are one role model, who do I have? And it's like, oh, Jackie Chan, Bruce Lee. I'm like, they don't run businesses and they're from the 90s and they're cool, but a bit outdated, right? It's the 2000s now. So, personally, the identity piece is always searching for some sort of role model. I think there's a dark feeling sometimes where it's like, when there is no role model, first carry on, don't give up, but it may be you. So be bold and keep on going. And at times I feel like, sometimes leaders aren't asked to be leaders, but in this case, I'm like, think of that takeaway kid. If that was you, wouldn't you want someone that could like help you a bit or feel like the path is possible, that there is at least a door open? And that does significantly enough already. So it's definitely an identity piece and looking for one. I'm generally a champion of people. So when I see other people, yourself included, doing great things, I'm like, go do it, go, go, go. And what's great for that? Safe spaces and community. So that was a safe space for that community. And finally, with any community where there's an intersection of something, so this is obviously Britishness, Chineseness, and tech entrepreneurship, there's going to be a Venn diagram where one piece is relevant. And one thing could be failure. Like in my culture, failure or face is very important. Failure is not looked upon nicely. If you're an immigrant, failure is costly as well. So how do you be an entrepreneur if the social constructs around you say do not fail, and even you say that to yourself? So how can we have that conversation in a safe room? One thing I care about a lot is like the Eastern principles and heritage I have, which make me authentically me, and the Western bits I have too. How do you balance that? How do you present your Eastern side in an authentic way? What's your leadership style? What's your management style? And how do you stay true to that identity as an entrepreneur? So for me, it's stuff like principles, and my dad talks in proverbs, and I hated it as a kid, but now I kind of use them. With my growth team recently, like the sales team, I was like, okay, when you're planning this cycle, think one thing, eat bitter things first and then the sweet things later. So bitter first, sweet later. And that's a comment on life, right? Do the hard things earlier in your life and the good things will come. But for them, it's like, do the hard, cold sales first and then later do the easy sales. Anyway, like that's me and me weaving in my identity into entrepreneurship. And I think when you're first of kind, let's have a community to encourage that across the board. So yeah, love it. I wish I did more. Like, just need to keep on going there, I think. But shout out to Nest, and community is really important, and safe spaces too.
I like one of the points you made there as well, because I think even with what I do, I think that there's a level of reluctance, right? It's that I didn't set out to want to be the face of this, right? But it's that by doing the work we're doing, the mission we have, then it makes sense for me to do that. And I think about it with like any kind of leader. If the leader is motivated by being important, that makes them automatically a bad leader. And you see it with politicians, you see it with different people that they're motivated by that power. Whereas when people are motivated by like, okay, I want this change to happen, it's only going to happen if I take a leadership role. And those are people I tend to look up to more, because you're saying, okay, you're not doing this to feel important, you're not doing this because you want to be your name in lights, you're doing it because you have to do it. Because that's what gets people to care about your mission, and what gets people to care about the problems you're trying to solve. And I think it happens quite a lot, I think, with people in our cultures, is that it's not necessarily that they want to be in the spotlight, because it's not about that fame, it's not about that recognition. But by doing something which they care about, the only way they're going to get the funds, the only way they're going to get the customers is by making their face go out there. And one of the things, right, so with this podcast now, we're this is really episode 265-ish.
Good.
So we're going to get TV on the wall there, and 200 episodes later, we'll get you back on again, right? So 200 episodes will be about 2 years' time. And you mentioned about like the dreams of the future and what you'll be working on. In 2 years' time, if you're sitting here again, what would you love to say to me that this is what we've achieved in the last 2 years?
Oh, so interesting. Yeah, so there's a real like company aspect to this, which is obviously we're in a quarter of GPs now. Could we be in all of the GPs and actually entering other spaces like pharmacies or hospitals with like automation services? Or is there a point now where if we do lots of different organizations, we can web it together? Can we work with patients more and be a national service? So there's definitely like company ambitions. But I like the idea of like finding great people, investing in them, having great, doing our life's best work together, and just having more of those moments. So not necessarily like care about headcount too much, but if we like have a bigger family and we all are achieving great things and everyone's turning into a leader of some sort or high impact, and I will like look back on my life at those moments, I think, and feel much more proud. So yeah, bigger team, hits a few goals. I think ultimately stay authentically yourself. Mum on this journey has always said, look, you're starting to get a bit of success. Don't let your head inflate. Keep it small. I think she's referring to ego here. And yeah, like egos can inflate so much, so quickly. So keep it controlled. Like, have self-confidence, break down barriers, do wild, ambitious things, but don't let it, don't get your head so big that you are falling over, right? So yeah, you see that there's a future goal, but a core that you want to stay true to. So those two things in tension would be great.
It's keeping your feet on the ground but your head in the clouds is the idea, right?
Yeah. That's
where I look at it. It's like, that's the way you grow, right? So you don't want to grow by you just go up but your feet leave the ground. So if you keep you in the ground but you keep growing upwards, that's the ideal thing, I think. And it's how do you manage that, right?
Yeah. And like you said just then, if you're ego driven and you want to be important, then you detach yourself from the ground and you let your head fly to the sky. But people that chase problems, missions, movements, and some core aligning social construct, let's say, then you're attached to the ground, right? You're here for a movement, for righteousness, for justice, for this problem, and then that grounds you. So yeah, you've got it perfect. I imagine a really tall person now, just like I'm sure there's a TV series that has something like this.
So, love hearing your stories and like how the principles in your upbringing has affected what you've been building. We're going to go to quick fire questions now.
Yeah, do it.
So the first one is, who are 3 Asians in the UK you think are doing incredible work and you'd love to shout them out?
I think a mix of early entrepreneurs and more, ahead entrepreneurs. So Hung Hoang, recently, Vietnamese guy, got into YC. I've been helping him and a good friend of mine, Will Fairburn. And they just started, and I catch up with them every now and again, and they're just going and going and going. And now they're at YC, so good luck to them trying to automate financial ops, so FinOps. I think why I'm calling them out is because resilience, agility, and they just keep on going and very ambitious and really inspirational story. Like their roots are good too. I think talking about Nest makes me think of Peony and Raphael. Raphael started something called Brute Tea. Very cool, like tea business, true to his roots again. And Peony just killing it at Jude. So they're great. I think an Asian pair recently, a final shout out would be Tayyib and Talvin building Bleep 64. I think we should link it up. But yeah, I just caught up with them and they're like the fastest moving pair and I've ever seen. So it's real YC energy and they just got into Antler. So well done, guys. But it's this like, okay, well, I'd say like, have you spoken to your customers? They're like, not yet. Or, you know, only this much. I'm like, speak to 100 of them and then they've done it. Or have you looked at this bit? And they're like, okay, cool, let's do this. And they're so damn quick at iterating. And that energy is basically like YC energy. And that's the level I think a team in the early days should move at. But yeah, they're just like early in their career or like entrepreneurial career. And I'm rooting for them fully. So yeah, go, go, go.
Awesome. And if people want to find out more about you and Health Tech One, where should they go to?
I think just LinkedIn's good. So profile will be in there somewhere, I guess, and Health Tech One. Our website is all on there, so have a look there.
And is there anything the audience listening today could help you with or help Health Tech One with?
Oh, think about joining health tech in general. There's nothing more aligning and there's lots of exciting opportunity here. You help people, build great technologies, leave such a positive sort of feeling that you will maintain for a very long time. And the stark reality is that the healthcare system is failing. It is breaking and it's kind of like on heart support, you know, ICU support. So the more smart people we can get here, the better. And yeah, finance, law, I know probably all the Asian sorts of families are crying now, but yeah, they're typical industries. Health tech is totally different and so rewarding. So come to Health Tech One.
So thanks so much again for coming on. Any final words?
Not at all. Thank you for your time. This is fantastic. And keep going. Like you're building a really important movement, especially in the context right now. And yeah, the more we can build strength and unity and a safe space, the better. So really, really excited about what you're doing, man. So yeah, keep going.